I'm just watching an interesting little video here. I'm pausing it at the moment. This apparently was recorded on the 4th of December 2020 this year at Seapoint Dart Station on the southeast of Dublin. And it's an interesting video. I have a very strict rule in things like this. Unless you've seen the whole thing or anything more substantial, it's always a good idea to just stand back and not rush to judgment. So I'm not rushing to judgment about anything that I'm seeing in this video. It's interesting to read social media and see all the people who are rushing to judgment. But anyway, let's just wind it back to the start. And we'll take a look and see what is being said here.
Alright, take that sword all you want at the end of the day. Whatever, look. Am I being arrested?
Alright, wait, I'm arrested. Yes, good lad! Get the fucking two of them!
Those two kids at the start look like brothers. We don't know who they are, but they look like, they look related to one another. They actually have quite posh accents, believe it or not. Believe it or not, that's southeast Dublin there. So, there are rough accents, and those are not rough accents. Maybe they want to be rough.
Do you not think my mate who just got brought home wants to go home?
Yeah, but who was throwing bottles at the guard?
What do you mean he was throwing?
Maybe they want to be rough, I don't know. But those are not rough accents. So at the moment there's a big guard, a shaven head guard with a mask on him, standing in the doorway of the train. That's not a tram, by the way, that's a train. A suburban train in Dublin. Let's see what happens next.
Alright, wait, I'm arrested. Yes, good lad! Get the fucking two of them! That's the job!
Now immediately it seems that the response of the Gardaí there was disproportionate, because they grabbed them, and it didn't seem that those two young men or teenage boys were in any way causing trouble. Maybe they were earlier, but they were not causing trouble in that particular video for the Gardaí. So immediately to have grabbed them in such a rough way and manhandled them off the train, and then to have flattened them on the platform at Seapoint, that looks to me like it is a southbound train. In other words, if we look in the background, we can see it's dark there. So that's the sea, Dublin Bay over there. So then it's an interesting character appears. This interesting character appears, and that's the purpose really of this video, not so much what happened on a train, because that'll be handed over to the DPP, the guards will investigate it, and so on and so forth. But this, I don't know, I suppose I should probably keep it clean for the purposes of this video being generally circulated. But if we look at this geezer who appears from the left, this is what you get in a situation where the country is in a state of considerable group tension regarding the lockdown, regarding everything that's happening. This man reminds me of kids in a schoolyard. I've said this before in other videos of mine, and they see the big boys having a fight, or the teacher sorting something out, and the notion of closing their mouths and saying nothing is just beyond them. Let's watch on, unbroken.
Wait, I'm arrested. Yes, good lad! Get the fucking two of them! That's the job! Get the fucking two of them out of here! Well done, lads! Now shut your mouth and get that fella too! Get in! Get out, you prick! Get out! Get out! Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out, you scumbag! Good lads! Well done, lads! Thanks a lot! Now we can all go home! You three pricks! Well done, lads! Tell that to the judge tomorrow. Well done, lad. Well done. You alright? Yeah. We got the three troublemakers. There's two more down here. I know. I'm not going to get a
He just got home.
Any's want to go with him, no? Any's all big fucking mouths now? No? Are you as well? Any's want to go with him? That's fine.
Like we're all different people here.
Any's want to go with them?
We're not on the same journey.
Let's go home.
Let's
go home. You want to go with them?
Don't need to shout at everyone.
You want to go with them? You are one of the real leaders. Don't be sorry.
We're on the same journey. I get you. There's no need. He's sure.
Now, that's interesting. So they're always hard men when the guards are there behind them. It's interesting also to read the remarks on social media about that particular man. I'd like to get a look at his face, because they're the ones you need to watch out for. They're the dangerous ones. Not a crowd of kids who might have been throwing bottles or misbehaving on the dart. They're a crowd of kids. Okay, everybody hates antisocial behaviour in public transport. Fair enough. I'm not rushing to judgment about either the Gardaí or about the kids. But this is an interesting video from an entirely separate point of view of looking at the behaviour of that man in the grey coat. Because take note of that type of person. Take careful note of that type of person. Because that's the type of wannabe hard man who is very dangerous to law-abiding people who mind their own business. What we see then, after the two kids or the third man is removed from the dart, and I'm not sure that the third man was even culpable at all, or that he wasn't just standing in the wrong place. I don't know. I'm not impressed by what I see. I'm not impressed by what I see. And that man in the grey coat is going around causing trouble. And he should have been arrested as well. Absolutely, he should have been arrested as well. He's putting his hands on the Gardaí, which is an offence in its own right. He's shouting at them. He's telling them how to do their jobs. They don't need people like that around. Indeed, I've even seen publications by the Gardaí in the past saying, please do not tell the guards how to do their job. Bloody sure. Bloody sure, they don't need that. Let's take a look at it again. I'll talk through it from the start.
Do you not think my mate who just got brought home wants to go home?
That's a posh accent.
What do you mean he was throwing bottles at the guard?
Alright,
That's a
take
posh
that
accent.
sort all you want at the end of the day.
They're posh accents. They're posh kids.
Am I being arrested?
Alright, yeah. Wait, man, you're arrested as well. Yes, good lad! Get the fucking two of them!
Now let's listen to yeah, it's a blue coat he has, yeah.
Shut your mouth! And get that fella too!
Oh, he's a grass. Oh, he's a rat.
Get out! Get the fuck out!
Oh dear.
Get the fuck out, you scumbag! Good lads! Well done, lads!
He puts his hand on the Garda.
You all go home! You three bricks!
Then he starts trouble with other people. Let's watch this. Let's watch him now mouthing off to other people. Tell that to the judge. That's a grand old cliche. Ah, here's the hero. Here's the hero. Let's try and get his face. This is a wannabe copper.
It's not on the same journey. Let's go home. Let's go home. You want to go with them? You don't need to shout at everyone. You want to go on the same journey. You are one of the real leaders. We're on the same journey. I get you. There's no need. He's sure.
Well, how interesting. It is interesting, very interesting to look at these types of people. Very, as a video in terms of observing social anthropology, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I do believe that the man in the long blue coat, I got it wrong at the start, it's not great. The man in the long blue coat should be removed and arrested as well. He was causing as much of a disturbance as anybody else from what I could see in that video. Now, there may be other evidence. I'm sure this Irish Rail has CCTV showing things. They keep that, by the way. That's not pretend CCTV. They do keep it. So, you know, apparently a file is being sent to the DPP and maybe prosecutions will arise. I think it's unlikely. They may be just given a verbal warning and told not to do it again or to behave themselves. They're posh kids. I certainly think that the notion of actually flattening the two boys on the platform there, from what I've just observed objectively there, although I'm saying to people don't rush to judgment, you know, they should have been removed from the train. They weren't running anywhere. They weren't causing trouble from what I saw in that video. I think that was disproportionate. But you don't know. You don't know what happened before then. You don't know what complaint was made. You don't know how they even spoke to the Gardaí when they got on. But this is a sign of the times. A sign of the times. You know, and people are running out of patience also, both with the government and with one another. To my mind, the real culprit in that video is the man in the long blue coat shouting out of him and appointing himself to be an arbiter of law and order. He's an arsehole. Watch what's happening. Watch what's happening. These are times in which those kind of meat golem, those kind of wannabe respectable, upstanding members of the society, watch out for them. That's the same type of person who called the guards on me last week in a supermarket when I was buying groceries for myself and my parents. I was not wearing a mask. I had got permission from the management of the shop not to wear a mask. He complained about me to a shop worker who said to me, "Why are you not wearing a mask?" I said, "The manager has given me permission." "Oh, that's okay. That's fine," said the shop worker. But this individual would not listen to the shop worker, so he then called the manager, who told him more or less, I won't say, but who just more or less told him to get a grip. No, he insisted on calling down the guards. When the guards came down then to the shop, they told me I'd nothing to answer for. No complaint had been made about me by the shop. I wasn't even being asked to leave. And they asked the man who then reported me to leave. Same type of thing. People taking the law into their own hands and taking it upon themselves to do the job of the police. Or in my case, the management of the shop. The management of the shop was happy to let me stay. End of story. They'd no issue. They'd no issue. It is the same as that busybody in the long blue coat in the video. Absolutely the same thing as that busybody in the long blue coat in the video. Watch them. Watch these people. I don't even, what can you call them? Watch them. This is what's coming out now. As we're moving further into a more authoritarian situation in Ireland, as the police are being given more powers, which I think many of them are uneasy with. Unfortunately, many of them maybe not be. But watch out for those men in the blue coats and the dart who then decide they're going to go around lecturing everybody. That's in a posh part of Dublin. That's Sea Point. I know the Dart line very, very well. I've travelled the Dart line when I was working as a teacher. Sea Point is posh. The people around in that video are, from what I can see, posh. Now, when your man approaches those other guys afterwards and starts saying, I'm not sure I would have been so polite and restrained in my response to him. I certainly would have told him, "Don't speak to me like that and get out of my face." I know I would have said that to him. If anybody had dared speak to me like that there, I think he probably wouldn't have. I think he'd have been more careful to speak to me like that. I don't know. If that man in the blue coat had approached me, I'd have gone outside and made a complaint about him to the guards. I'd have said, "Now this man is harassing me, you're going to have to remove him as well. He's being antisocial on the train. Get him out of here, please." I think a lot of people would have been relieved. But this is what's coming. Things are getting more pressured. We look at Andy Heisman, and in my opinion, he handled himself, from what I'm gathering from the court case and from a very interesting and well-written article by John Waters, Andy Heisman may not have done himself any favours. But bear in mind, I haven't worn a mask since August, except actually, I wore one in Liffey Valley yesterday for the wind-up. I wore the leather mask until I could I had a banging headache after 3 minutes wearing that thing. Oh, it was incredible. In the middle of the store, I went in to buy a television set for my mum. And in the middle of the shop, I just said to a member of staff, "Sorry, I'm having difficulty breathing. I'm not going to wear this anymore." And I took the leather mask off. Nobody cared. I just said to them, "Sorry, I can't breathe with this thing on. I'm taking it off. Sorry." Nobody cared. Later on then, I wasn't actually able to get what I was looking for in Liffey Valley. Liffey Valley is the real typical bleak strip mall area. Oh, it's an awful place, Liffey Valley. I'm not going back there. Then you travel out to the northeast side where it's so much more civilised. I actually ended up getting the telly in Power City and Coolock. There, I've given them a plug. When I was going in the door of Power City, a security guard says to me, would you like to wear a mask? No, I said, I have an exemption. That's okay. He said, wait in the external queue, a member of staff will come over to you. So, everything was fine. I think he shouldn't have asked me. But he was polite, and hey, I wasn't going to do a Gemma O'Doherty on him. And, how dare you? No, I wasn't going to live stream or any of that. I'm not looking for trouble. I didn't wear a mask in Power City. Then I went and bought groceries in Tesco, up in sane Tesco in Clare Hall, up in sane land, where half the people weren't wearing masks anyway. So, there are ways of dealing with these things. Looking at the Andy Heisman case, there are a number of questions unanswered. Okay, John Waters put up a very well-written and interesting article. It was very interesting. What was interesting also, and I think serious questions do arise about how Heisman was treated subsequent to his notification that he was going to lodge an appeal and his presentation of bail, because he was brought to jail immediately. He wasn't given an opportunity to lodge bail. And they did. It was only €500 cash. They had it done in 10 minutes, then they discovered he'd been jailed. And that's extremely questionable. Questions need to be answered about that. And to Heisman, though, a question I'd like answered is why he didn't have legal aid and a solicitor acting for him. Apparently he represented himself. Now, I know how that could... I just have a very strong idea how that one went. I don't need to speculate. I don't need to speculate about how that one went, with Andy Heisman representing himself. It could have been worse. He could have had Dee Wall acting for him.
What is it, love? An exemption badge. Yeah, I have an exemption badge here. Hang on. No, I have it ready for you. What do you mean you don't want it now? Oh, well, fuck me.